No one wakes up one morning and randomly decides to stop fighting for you. When someone stops trying, stops explaining, stops arguing, stops reassuring, it didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly, quietly, while you were busy believing everything was fine. You felt the shift before you understood it. The texts got shorter. The arguments stopped not because things were resolved, but because they didn't care enough to argue anymore. You started being the one who called first, the one who fixed things, the one who apologized just to keep peace, and you told yourself they're just stressed. They're going through something. It's just a phase. But deep down, you knew something was off. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People fight for what they are emotionally invested in. When they stop fighting, it usually means the emotional return is gone. Let's break down what's actually happening psychologically. Attraction and attachment are fueled by emotional reward. When someone feels seen, challenged, respected, and slightly uncertain, their brain releases dopamine. That dopamine creates pursuit, it creates effort. But when the dynamic shifts into predictability, emotional dependency, or imbalance, the brain stops associating the relationship with excitement and starts associating it with pressure. If one partner becomes anxious, constantly seeking reassurance, overgiving, over-explaining, the other often shifts into avoidance. Not because they are evil, but because anxiety triggers withdrawal in people who value autonomy. Anxious attachment says, "Please don't leave me." Avoidant attachment says, "You're too much for me." When that cycle repeats long enough, one person ends up fighting harder, and the other slowly stops fighting at all. Now here's where it gets painful. Sometimes they don't stop fighting because they don't love you. They stop fighting because the relationship stopped feeling rewarding. You might have started over-functioning, fixing every problem, carrying every emotional burden, making them the center of your world. That feels loyal to you. To them, it can feel suffocating. When someone no longer has to earn you, win you, or risk losing you, the tension disappears. And tension is part of attraction, not drama, not toxicity. But healthy tension, the sense that this person chooses me, not needs me. Neediness kills effort. Choice sustains it. Let's talk about power dynamics, because nobody likes admitting this part. In almost every relationship, there is a subtle imbalance of emotional investment. The person who fears losing the relationship more usually ends up giving more, calling more, explaining more, fighting more. And the more you fight alone, the less they feel the need to. Over time, they stop defending the relationship because they know you will. They stop initiating repair because they know you won't leave. The urgency disappears. And humans respond to urgency. Now let's address the gender psychology angle without turning it into a blame game. Many men, when they begin losing emotional attraction, don't communicate it directly. They withdraw. They detach slowly. They become quieter, less expressive, less reactive. Not because they don't care at all, but because confrontation feels heavy and unnecessary if their internal decision is already leaning toward exit. Many women, when they begin losing emotional safety or respect, also stop fighting. But they often fight hard first. They argue, explain, complain, cry. When a woman goes silent after trying repeatedly, that silence is usually not confusion, it's conclusion. Both genders stop fighting when they feel either powerless or indifferent. And indifference is the real ending, not anger. Not conflict, indifference. Here's another truth most people avoid. Sometimes they stop fighting because they tested your boundaries and realized there aren't any. You forgave too easily. You accepted half effort. You tolerated disrespect in small doses. You adjusted yourself repeatedly to avoid losing them. And every time you stayed without consequence, you unconsciously trained them that losing you isn't a real threat. People value what feels scarce, not what feels guaranteed. This doesn't mean you should play games. It means self-respect must exist before attachment. Now let's get even more uncomfortable. Sometimes they stop fighting because they outgrew the version of you that fell in love with them. Or you outgrew them. Growth changes attraction. Ambition levels shift, emotional maturity shifts. Lifestyle goals shift. If one partner evolves and the other stays stagnant, effort starts feeling forced. Fighting for something that no longer aligns feels exhausting. And instead of admitting that misalignment directly, many people slowly reduce effort and hope the relationship fades quietly. It's cowardly, but it's common. You might be asking, so what should I have done? You should have noticed when you were the only one carrying the emotional weight. You should have stopped over-explaining. You should have let silence expose imbalance instead of filling it. When someone pulls back, your instinct is to chase, but chasing confirms the imbalance. When someone stops fighting, the most powerful response is not to fight harder. It's to observe. Effort is mutual or it's manipulation. If you constantly have to convince someone to choose you, they already decided. Now here's the shift in perspective that hurts but frees you. When someone stops fighting for you, they are not taking something away. They are revealing something that was already fading. Their withdrawal is information. Instead of asking, how do I make them care again? Ask, why am I trying to keep someone who isn't choosing me? Love should not feel like a performance review. And fighting for a relationship should never feel one-sided. The silent advice nobody gives you is this: build a life where your emotional stability does not depend on one person's attention. Regulate your anxiety instead of outsourcing it to their reassurance. Develop boundaries that make leaving an option, not a threat you're too scared to use. Invest in yourself so heavily that if someone stops fighting, you don't collapse, you evaluate. Because the right person doesn't stop fighting during discomfort. They fight with you, not against the relationship. But if they stop fighting entirely, believe the behavior, not the memories, not the potential, not the promises. Effort is the clearest form of love. And when it disappears, don't beg for it back. Sometimes the moment they stop fighting for you is the moment you finally learn to fight for yourself. And that's the only fight that actually changes your life.